What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends, of course, over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use that promo code up on the screen. One day we'll get it. I think I'm going in the right direction, right? This way? This way? Yeah, that one. Code PHLY365. Deposit $10, bet just $5, and get $150 back in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. And find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Hello to you, and hello to Andrew Frazier and Ethan Hartley, who are here producing today's show. I'm Tyler Zulli. Thanks for joining us. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast, as we will try our best to not end the final 5 minutes in a comedy of errors like the Phillies did last night. We're going to get to a lot today. There's a lot to talk about. We'll do our mystery trade player as always. We're going to talk about the bullpen structure. We're going to talk about decision-making or maybe lack thereof for Rob Thompson. And, of course, we'll talk about today's afternoon game between the Phillies and the Giants as they wrap up the three-game series from Harwood, which is San Francisco's Oracle Park. But first, I have said many, many times, baseball is a beautifully stupid game. It is the dumbest, amazing, stupid, great game in the history of the world. Because only in baseball do you find something that hasn't happened, I don't know, in 99 years. Do you find something that hasn't happened since the World War II era? Do you find something that hasn't happened in a century plus? And also, do you find something that you maybe have never seen? I will be the first to tell you, as I'm sure you know, I'm sure many of you do, I watch a lot of baseball. Phillies baseball, not Phillies baseball, College World Series, Savannah Bananas, you name it, I watch baseball. And I'm sure many of you do as well. The end of last night's game was insanity. I have never in my life, at any level, when I was playing Little League, travel ball, Legion ball, high school ball, or when I was watching, and I'll even add when I'm playing MLB The Show, I have never seen a game end on a walk-off inside the park home run before. That was like a spectacle to I watched in awe. And as I watched that ball go up, my first thought was I thought the ball was leaving the yard. I just assumed it was a walk-off three-run home run. But as I saw its flight trajectory start to come down a little bit, and I'm watching where Nick Castellanos wasn't right, and I'm watching where was it Brandon Marsh was in center? Was Johan Rojas in center? Brandon Marsh in center. I'm watching where Brandon Marsh was in center. And I'm watching that ball kind of, its flight trajectory kind of come down a little bit. It immediately looked like it was going to be trouble because of it being a 20-foot tall brick wall with the kind of mystique of where it's going to land after it caroms off the brick wall. And it does exactly what a baseball is kind of supposed to do physics-wise off of a brick wall, which was bounce 20 feet away from Brandon Marsh. And you could sit there and say Brandon Marsh read it wrong or whatever. It was kind of a comedy of errors end of the day. And not only that, but on top of the fact that it was a walk-off inside the park home run, which we'll tell you more about the history of those in just a second, I said audibly to myself, because I was the only one awake in the house. The dog was asleep next to me. The rest of my family was asleep. I audibly said to myself, if you can get to Patrick Bailey with the game still in hand, you're going to win the game. Patrick Bailey somehow is one of the, if not the best defensive catchers at his position, one of the best defenders in baseball, period, and also one of the, simultaneously one of the worst hitters I've ever seen. The guy can't barely hit his weight. I don't know what he weighs, but if he weighs less than 200 pounds, he's hitting his weight. If he weighs more than 200 pounds, which I suspect he probably does, he can't hit his weight. My only thought was get to Bailey with the game still in hand, and you should be okay. And the minute that ball left his bat, my head just dipped. And if you watch our post-game 60-second reaction videos after most games, if you see it on Twitter or if you're in our Discord. We ended up going like a minute and 45 because my first 10 seconds was just utter shock. And I recorded that like half reactionary and half, kind of planned, right? But my head dipped into my hands. It was another walk-off. I shouldn't say another walk-off loss. It was a walk-off loss of just strange and comedic proportions. And we're going to get to the bullpen use in just a little bit because I think for the most part, almost everybody did their jobs. And we'll talk about Rob Thompson's decision-making, talk about the bullpen usage. But I will say in a whole, I thought the bullpen was pretty good. And I thought Taijuan Walker was pretty good. And the bullpen and Taijuan Walker kept them in the game for a majority of the game. But we'll get to that in just a second. I want to give you the oddity, the obscure, the ridiculousness of the statement, the Phillies lose on a walk-off inside the park home run. Now, this comes according to the great Sarah Langs of MLB Network, and Sarah does an excellent job. This was the stat that she pulled from last night's game. Do you know how many walk-off inside the park home runs there have been since 1920? I'll wait, because I didn't know. The answer is, since 1930. I apologize. The answer is 4. In the live ball era, there have been 4 before today walk-off inside the park home runs. The last one to happen came back on May 15th, 1989. So the last time a walk-off inside the park home run happened was 36 years ago. Over 36 years ago since it happened. That was Bob Dernier, who actually did it for the Phillies against the Giants, which is kind of funny. Before that, Tim Tuffle in June of 1984. Before that, you have to go all the way back to July of 1956 for Roberto Clemente to do it. And then before that, you have to go back to July of 1937 when Tom Winsett did it. I'm not even sure Tom Winsett had a fence. Tom Winsett might have just hit the ball and it rolled. Bill Matz and I were joking about this before the game, the show started, and he said it might have been played in an actual park. And I added on that there might be literally a gazebo in the middle of center field with, weird structures, right? That's how long ago you're talking about. The 5th most recent one to happen was 1937. And I say that in jest, of course, but that's the scope of this conversation that we're having. The Phillies lost a game yesterday in a fashion that has only happened 4 other times in the last 95 years of baseball. And if you want to be even more critical about it, the last time a walk-off home run was done in inside the park fashion was by a catcher was since 1926. You are talking about 99 years since the last time a catcher had a walk-off inside the park home run. And by the way, to clarify the Sarah Lang stat, it is a walk-off inside the park home run when teams held multiple run leads. I mean, the Phillies are inventing ways to lose at Oracle Park. It's actually almost impressive. If you stayed up for yesterday's game, which I did, and I suspect many of you did as well, good on you. First and foremost, Godspeed, because it was 12:47, I think, when I posted my recap. So I know some of you have work early in the morning. Andrew Frazier, I know you have work early in the morning.
Yeah, so do you.
And so do I. We have been a little bit bleary-eyed the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Because of these games. At least you got your money's worth, I guess.
I guess you could say that.
You can laugh and joke that game ended in a preposterous way.
Was that a money game? I feel like they took my money.
I listen, if I did not work in sports, there would have been a precisely 0% chance I stayed up for the end of that game.
Oh, yeah.
No chance whatsoever. I know Ray did. I know a lot of people in the chat in Philly with Jamie and I this morning did. I'm sure everybody, a lot of people in your chat with Bill and VG probably did.
They did, yes.
A ridiculous baseball game. Just ridiculous beyond proportions. This is one of those absurd games that I think we're going to be talking about for a really, really long time. Not only that, but let's talk a little bit more about the game as a whole. The Phillies suck at Oracle Park. There's no other way to say it. They suck at Oracle Park. They are 3-18 in their last 21 games. They are 7-25 since the start of 2014. Since Oracle Park opened and has served under a multitude of different names. I think it was Pac Bell Park. What else was it before Oracle? AT&T, I think it was. Served under many different names. But the ballpark that opened in San Francisco in 2001, the Phillies are 28-57 all time at Oracle Park. Andrew, do you know how hard it is to be 30 games under 500 or almost 30 games under 500 at a ballpark that's only existed for 25 years? And for a bulk of those time, you probably only went there once a season?
That's crazy.
29 games under 500 in the span of Oracle Park's history. We've talked about there are certain runs across a decade or 5 years or whatever it is where a team owns another team. We talked about it with the Mets. The Mets have had the Phillies number for the last couple of seasons. We've talked about it with the Padres. The Phillies, who, by the way, the Phillies go to Petco Park next. The Phillies have been really good against the Padres over the last 5 years, and in fact have been really good at Petco Park for a majority of Petco's existence. There is no question about it. The Phillies suck at Oracle Park. 30 games almost under 500 in a 25-year sample size. K-Red, I am sorry for that. K-Red says it was the first game that he stayed up for in almost 18 months. I wish I had better answers for you. The Phillies have an opportunity today to at least break a trend and get a win, salvage a win. Now, here's the funny part, and we'll talk a little bit more about tonight's game, or this afternoon's game in just a little bit. Andrew, if I asked you, percentage chance Justin Verlander is a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Like 99.
It's almost a surefire lock, right?
Yeah.
He's going to walk into Cooperstown as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Without a doubt.
Do you know how many wins Justin Verlander has this year?
3.
0. Justin Verlander does not have a win yet this year.
Okay.
Would it just be the way that this series has unfolded that Justin Verlander gets his first win today?
Of course, yeah.
I will never take anything away from Justin Verlander. He is, as we just said, a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to walk in. Scherzer's going to walk in. Kershaw's going to walk in. Those three guys are undeniably probably the three best starting pitchers from like the era after Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, those type of guys, you know, Curt Schilling. Once that era faded out, the next era belonged to Scherzer, to Verlander, to Kershaw, to a lesser extent to guys like Felix Hernandez, to DeGrom, to Greinke. But those three guys I think are going to walk into the Hall of Fame in the first year. But yeah, Justin Verlander currently is 0-6 with a 4.84 ERA. Over his 14 starts this year, he's only thrown 70 2/3 innings. He's not the same guy that we once knew. He's not the guy that in Houston posted a 1.75 ERA the year that the Astros won the World Series and beat the Phillies. Long way from that, in fact. But it just seems like that's how this game and this series is going to unfold, that the Phillies will lose a series and get swept out because Oracle is a hell house for the Phillies, that they'll lose to Justin Verlander and he'll get his first win of the 2025 season. All right, we're going to pause. On the other side, I want to get to kind of the more in-depth, minute details of yesterday's game. And we're going to talk about the bullpen specifically because of the fact that Taijuan Walker was ever only going to pitch, 3 or 4 innings. He did what he was supposed to do. We'll talk about the structure of the bullpen and why this team still is in desperate need of bullpen help and where that bullpen help comes from. We'll get to our mystery player of the day, and we'll talk a little bit more about this afternoon's game, and we'll do some fun things to wrap up because we need a little bit of fun after the way that yesterday's game kind of transpired. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll talk more about yesterday's game in just a moment. We'll be right back after this. Excuse me. Let's talk about our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. If you've got that outlet that you need to fix, it's been busted since last summer. If you need to worry about your heating, your cooling, your ventilation, your HVAC work, or maybe it's something really, really significant, like your air conditioner is blown and it's 90 degrees today and you're sweating in your house. Well, you need to get on over to our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. You know that Ace Hardware is the place with the helpful hardware folks, but did you know those helpful hardware folks are now bringing the helpful that you love from the store right to your front door, all the way from Philly to the Jersey Shore? I love a little bit of a catchy rhyme, and they did that just there. But you know what they bring. But what else other than helpful, right? They bring experience. They're local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to the bigger stuff like installations, upgrades, and total fixes. They bring understanding. They're going to listen to your goals, and the job is not complete until you are satisfied. They bring the helpful to your home so you can spend more time on the projects that really matter. They provide you free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are not only best for you, but what's best for your budget and for your home. It's service you can trust and satisfaction guaranteed. Ace Hardware Home Services are local. They live in your community and they do the work in your community because it's the places that they grew up in and it's the places that they still call home. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Let's shift from one pros to more pros, and it's the pros in flooring. It's our buddies at Empire and Empire Today. If you're looking for new flooring, whether it's hardwood, tile, laminate, carpet, whatever your goal is, you want to head over to Empire Today because they are the trusted pros that get the job done right, and they'll be with you every step of the way. Listen, we've all been to the big box stores. You wander the aisles aimlessly. You end up having to lug all of the equipment home yourself. You got to look for an installer. It's just a pain in the butt to go through all of it. But with Empire Today, they are going to walk you through every step of the process, from the initial in-home consultation where you can pick the right flooring and the right colors that work in your space. You're going to get to see how it looks with your furniture in your home. They'll take precise measurements, and you'll have all of your questions answered through the buying process, and they offer you clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule the next step, that installation step, as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, if you're looking to get that flooring done, you can receive a $350 discount by using the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Hello to everybody in the chat. Futz, Ray Schumacher, Peeling Onions, K-Red, Filthy McNasty, who else is here? Kate. Everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Really, really appreciate you all. Hello to you in the chat. That is one thing, Futz, that we're going to get to. And it is the question that I was asked by Jamie earlier today on Philly with John Marks. What's the more pressing issue? Is it that they need an outfield bat, or do they need bullpen help? Excuse me 1 second, please. Apologies. Allergies are killing me today. Do they need bullpen help, or do they need that outfield bat? And Futz brings up the point that I think the reason, the answer to that question is they need the bat. They need an infusion of life. What was the number? Phils have scored 3 or less games in 38 of 92, or 3 or less runs, in 38 of 92 of their games. We have talked about many games this season where the Phillies starting pitching and their pitching staff as a whole have kept them in games, and they end up losing 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. We talked about the Astros series. They gave up 5 runs in 3 games against the Astros. They lost 1-0, 1-0, 2-0, and 2-1. They lost games against the Pirates where they gave up 2 twice and lost. Starting pitching's been excellent this year. They have a claim to the best starting rotation in all of baseball, especially with the top 3. Wheeler has been dominant. Sanchez, dominant. Suarez, dominant. At times, Luzardo has been dominant. He's also had some clunkers in there, no question about it. But when he's on, he's killing it. Abel's given you a couple of good starts. I think Taijuan Walker has given you some good starts when he's filled in as the fifth starter. This starting rotation is going to keep you in any game and in every postseason series. No question about it. But this offense needs an infusion of life in the worst way. They have one player who is on pace for more than 20 home runs this season. He's already surpassed it. It's Kyle Schwarber. The next highest number is 11. They have one player, no surprise, Kyle Schwarber again, with an OPS above 900. They have one player with an OPS above 800. Everybody else is 794 or below. This offense needs a charge in the worst way. And does that come from a power bat, a power right-handed hitter? Perhaps. Does it come from the addition of a left fielder who could just be an everyday guy? Perhaps. Does it come with the addition of a center fielder and Brandon Marsh takes over in left field? Perhaps. There are options for this team, but there is no question about it. They need a charge offensively because there are too many nights where they are scoring 3 or less runs. And last night, the Phillies should have won that game. And Jordan Romano blows the game, no question about it. But 3 runs is not enough to win a ball game. I've always said 4 is the threshold to feel comfortable. 4 is the threshold to feel like your team should have a good chance at winning the game. Now, you're going to lose games 7-6 where your offense comes to play and your defense or and your pitching doesn't. And I know you're going to lose games 2-1 where your pitching comes to play and your offense doesn't. But the Phillies have had a lot of games for a team that is well above 500 where they're not scoring enough runs. And they're getting by with the fact that their starting rotation is really, really, really good. But that's why when Jamie asked me that question, as much as I would love to see a power back end of the bullpen arm, a high leverage reliever, and I do think it's something that they're going to address, I think the most pressing need is the addition of a bat in this lineup. And if I had my druthers, it would be a right-handed power bat. Now, we were sitting in our lobby area, our kitchen area, going through some of those names. And Andrew, we were talking about it. Jamie and I were talking about it. A lot of the names that come up that are potentially available for the Phillies are left-handed.
Yeah, it's very true.
Now, the question is, what is the balancing act between the Phillies very clearly need a right-handed bat versus the Phillies very clearly need another hitter? And just you cross the left-handed bridge when you get to it. Like, there's no doubt in my mind the Phillies need I'm not going to say middle of the lineup guy, but somebody who could theoretically hit second or hit fifth or sixth to provide some additional help to this team. There's no question about it. They're going to have to use resources and assets in the terms of prospects to make that happen. Like, I think in a perfect world, they get a righty, but I think in reality, they need a good hitter.
Yeah. So, like, production, it prioritizes over orientation of the stance.
Right.
So if you can get a guy who's going to produce, even though he may be a lefty, it might be your best option.
I think you just have to kind of make it work, right? There's a team, Lenny Franco, welcome, Lenny, hello. Lenny brings up a team in the Twins, right? Duran could potentially be available. I rave about Griffin Jacks. We talked about him. Buxton has a full no-trade clause. So Buxton would have to waive his no-trade clause before he were to be moved anywhere. But I do think the Twins have players that can help teams. I don't know if it necessarily means the Phillies, but I think Harrison Bader's having a nice year. I talked about Bader in the offseason. I think Bader stinks. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I think he can't hit. He's having a very nice season, though, and he's been hitting well above what I expected him to do. Willie Castro may be available. There are players that could be available to teams, but I'm not sure Buxton is going to be moved at the deadline. I do believe the Twins will eventually be sellers, and I could see them moving on from Griffin Jacks, potentially from Yohan Duran, potentially from Castro, definitively from Bader, who I believe is on a 1-year deal. I think they're going to be sellers. I just think the guy that people continue to link to buyers, including the Phillies, in Byron Buxton, I don't think is going to get moved. I don't know if it's necessarily Buxton doesn't want to go anywhere or the Twins don't want to move Buxton, who's having a nice year. Also, a guy who has been injury prone throughout his career. You know, I don't love the term injury prone, but if there's a guy that fits that bill, it's Byron Buxton. There's no question about it. I'll go find his game log really quickly for you because I don't know off the top of my head, but I would imagine he has found himself playing less than 100 games most of the seasons in the last 5 or 6 years. So this year he's on pace to do it. He's got 74 games played. Last year he played 102. Andrew, the 102 games played for Byron Buxton, now take out 2020 because 2020 doesn't count, only a 60-game season. But last year his 102 games are the most, and it's the first time that he played 100 games since 2017.
Whoa.
28 games in 2018, 87 in 2019, 39 of 60 in 2020, but of course the COVID-shortened season. I don't hold anybody 2020 standard. Like,
sure, that's
you could have been elite
year.
in 2020 or crap in 2020, and I almost wiped the slate clean that year.
I agree, 100%.
But 2021, 61 games. 2022 was an all-star and then missed most of the second half, 92 games. 2023, 85. Last year, 102. You know I don't love using the phrase injury prone, but if it's applicable to anybody, Byron Buxton probably fits the bill of injury prone.
Yes, he might be the spokesperson for it.
But I really don't think that the Twins or Buxton are looking to move. And, you know, for a guy who kind of can control his own destiny. And by the way, the full no trade clause runs through next year. So for 27-28, that trade clause doesn't exist. But he can say no to any offer that gets made. I just think that between the injury concerns, between the fact that I don't think that the Twins are super excited about moving him, I don't think Buxton's super excited about moving. I just don't think Buxton ends up being a trade piece. But I think when you talk about the balancing act, right, you get the scales, and it's a feather versus a what's the Egyptian when they weigh your heart? It has to weigh less than the feather to deem if you were a good person.
Yes,
it's a bad analogy, but you get my point.
The scale?
Yeah, they put the heart on the scale, and it's like to go into the afterlife. It is a ridiculous analogy. I know. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's what it is. It's like if your heart is pure,
then you'll be lighter than a feather.
It's lighter than a feather.
Yeah.
So again, ridiculous analogy. But if you're balancing the scales of how much do you need a right-handed bat versus how much do you just need a bat, I think eventually the Phillies are going to look at it and go, yeah, we'd prefer a righty, but it doesn't necessarily mean we need a righty. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit when we get to our mystery player. But I want to talk about yesterday's game specifically. And yesterday's game was going to be a difficult one for the pitching staff because of the fact that Taijuan Walker was making I guess you could call it a spot start. But, you know, I don't know if he's going to remain in the rotation past yesterday. I don't think the Phillies need a fifth starter until July 22nd now. So the Phillies have some time to kind of, you know, reevaluate that spot. But the expectation for Taijuan Walker was like 60, 65 pitches. And quite frankly, I thought he gave you a pretty good 4 innings. 4 innings pitched, just 2 hits, 2 walks, so 4 base runners. He gave up the 1 earned run. He ended up throwing 63 pitches. And that's kind of all I could have expected from Taijuan Walker. So tip of the cap to him. You know, we've talked about him a lot. He's been jostled around between the rotation and the bullpen quite a bit. And I give him credit for going out and giving you 4 good innings and keeping you in the game. The question about the bullpen after that was the structure of the bullpen moving in through the next 5 innings. I have spoken a lot about Tanner Banks. I think Tanner Banks deserves a lot of credit for the pitcher that he has become, both because of the fact that his numbers are good. He's got a 3.12 ERA, and now he, I believe, has gone 8 of his last 10 appearances without giving up an earned run, and I'll find that number for you in just a second. But I do believe he deserves some flowers. It's actually greater than that. 11 of his last 13 outings since the start of June, he has not given up an earned run. His ERA is down to 3.12. He's deserving of credit just because of that, but also because of the fact that the Phillies have been without Jose Alvarado now for, 40 some odd games at this point or close to it. And Tanner Banks has been asked to become a higher leverage lefty than what the expectation was heading into the season. So he pitches the fifth. A lot of credit to him there. But I will say this. At the time, it was 1-1. Now, the question is, are you looking for the next 3 outs or the most important 3 outs? And do you believe the next 3 outs are the most important 3 outs? Because if you structure your bullpen in a way that is low leverage to high leverage, I don't think Tanner Banks was necessarily the exact right call for that spot. But I will say this. If you believe the way that Rob Thompson, if I'm trying to get in the head of Rob Thompson, he likes to get outs when they're necessary, especially in tie ball games or close ball games. He was trying to keep it 1-1 in a spot that the Phillies needed to get the next 3 outs. And so for Tanner Banks, he was going up against Jung-Hoo Lee, Dominic Smith, Patrick Bailey, Elliot Ramos, and Rafi Devers. So they needed to go up against a couple of lefties in that spot. And so Tanner Banks was called upon. Did a great job of working out of a little bit of trouble and ended up holding the Giants off the scoreboard. So then you turn to Max Lazar, who I think Max Lazar has earned a spot in this bullpen. And he pitched a clean 6th. He gave up a hit himself, but also picked up a strikeout, 11 pitches, 4 batters faced, did a good job. The Phillies now had the lead. It was 3-1 when Max Lazar left the game, right? Because I believe that would be the case. It was 3-1 after the 7th inning. After the 6th inning. So the Phillies had, after the top of the 6th, which was ended up being, so heading into the 7th, it was a tie ball game. Max Lazar gives them a clean inning, and then in the top of the 7th, that's when Kyle Schwarber hits the home run. So Lazar gives them a clean inning, and then they turn to Matt Strahm because now they have a 3-1 lead. And they're back to a point in the lineup where Strahm has to face a couple of lefties. So Strahm comes into the game and does an excellent job. 1-2-3 inning. It was probably the sharpest that Strahm has looked in quite some time. But now you have to get 6 outs. And the 3 guys that were used or potentially available in the bullpen were Jordan Romano, Daniel Robert, and the question was, is Orion Kerkering available out of the bullpen? He had thrown 25 pitches the night before, and I know Rob Thompson, more times than not, does not like to use Kerkering back-to-back nights when he throws a lot of pitches. It's just not been what he does with Kerkering over that time. So he goes to Daniel Robert in the 8th, and Robert is unable to get through the 8th. He walks a batter, he gives up a hit, and he gets just 1 out. He brings in Jordan Romano, who at the time faced a difficult task of getting out of the jam and keeping the lead in check. And he did exactly that. And I give a lot of credit to Jordan Romano for getting those 2 outs in a big spot and sending the game to the 9th. If Orion Kerkering were not available, I get the thought process of sending the guy out there who has closed games before. However, this is not a guy that you have a ton of confidence in. He got the 2 big outs that you needed to, and then you were going to try to get him to get another 3 outs. I don't blame Rob Thompson for this decision-making. Rob Thompson kind of has his hands tied. This bullpen is at least an arm short, and if Orion Kerkering truly was not available in yesterday's game, he's really 2 pitchers short. So it's, do you try to get 3 more outs with Jordan Romano, or do you turn the game over to Joe Ross in the 9th inning? Kind of tells you what Rob Thompson thinks about Joe Ross pitching in that spot. But I don't think he had a lot of great options. The one choice that I think the Phillies could have considered, because it's a guy who's done it before and had only thrown 10 pitches the inning prior, the one choice the Phillies could have potentially made was sending Matt Strahm back out for the 8th inning. The reason I think they did not was twofold. One, They got a really clean inning from Strahm, who had been tasked all season with throwing a lot of pitches. And 2, because of the longer inning that the Phillies had offensively, the inning prior. Oh, excuse me, it was the inning prior. Scratch that. This is live radio or live digital. Never mind, my math isn't mathing. I think the one option that the Phillies could have had was sending Strahm back out for a second inning. Rob Thompson chose not to. He went to Daniel Robert. Robert wasn't able to get the 3 outs that they needed. Had to go to Romano. Romano gets 2 big outs, and then his hands are kind of tied. I guess truly the one solution was going to be sending Matt Strahm back out for a second inning. Or I guess you could have tried to trust Max Lazar for a second inning, but in a scenario where he was going to face Jung-Hoo Lee and Wilmer Flores, I don't think he had the option for that decision to be made. And Philly 007 says Rob Thompson lost that game for them. My counter to you, Philly 007, was what the alternative was Joe Ross. Are you going to Joe Ross in that spot? Because I'm not entirely sure. Like, I bounced back and forth with it. It was a fresh arm, and I don't trust Jordan Romano. It's kind of where I bounce back and forth. It's a guy who's closed out games before versus a guy who doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Rob Thompson managed flawlessly, but I do think he had his hands tied. Jordan Romano pitched poorly in the 9th. So here's kind of the declaration of the 9th inning. I apologize. We are way late for a break. Here's kind of the declaration of the 9th inning yesterday. Jordan Romano stunk in the 9th. The Phillies are an arm short at least. And the Phillies need more offensive productivity. 3 runs, you should not bank on 3 runs. And the fact that Schwarber hit the 2-run home run to propel you to a lead does not mean you should just be sitting on your hands for the rest of the game. There's a lot of blame to go around in yesterday's loss. There's a lot of blame to go around when the Phillies struggle offensively. There's a lot of blame to be placed on the front office for not equipping this bullpen with enough firepower to succeed. And on top of it, the reality of the situation is the Phillies are still 14 games over 500. They are at least an arm short in total, and I think they were 2 arms short last night with Kerkering not being available. They need to score more runs. 3 runs is not enough to win you a game on any given night. You cannot sit here and tell me just because this rotation is really, really good that you can sit on your laurels and feel good about it just inherently. They're going to win a ton of regular season games and be a formidable opponent in the postseason because of the fact that the rotation is so good. And maybe I'm talking myself in circles at this point. Maybe I'm sitting here with rose-tinted glasses. But I do think this rotation is good enough to keep them in a lot of postseason series. However, there are flaws with this team that are undeniable, and they're the flaws that we expected at the beginning of the season, and they have manifested themselves throughout the year, and they're also 53-39 through the first 92 games. So they're in a good spot. I think they have potential to be in a better spot. The unfortunate part about being in the better spot is you either needed to spend money in the offseason, which I think they allocated their very finite resources poorly, or you're going to spend at the trade deadline with moving prospects to be the case. All right, on the other side, we're going to get into our mystery trade player. We'll wrap things up with a little bit of fun and talk about today's game. We're going to pause for just a second. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be right back after this. All right, let's talk about Bet365 because it's never ordinary and 90 million users have found that out worldwide. They live stream 780,000 events each and every year. They'll offer you early access payouts on NBA and NHL when those two come back. And Bet365, the best thing about Bet365 is they have pioneered live in-game betting. You can bet on if a player is going to get a hit. You see it on the broadcast all the time. The next player up, they'll talk about the line to get a hit. You can live bet the at-bat. You can live bet the next pitch even. You can live bet an inning, or you can live bet the lines as they change consistently. And they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 different platforms. And how about this? New customers now get $150 back in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. So what you're going to do, use that promo code up in the corner, PHLY365. Deposit just $10 and place a bet for $5, and you will automatically get $150 back in bonus bets whether you win or lose. Those bonus bets can be used on player props, spreads, totals, futures, and so much more. And that's why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, Tyler, I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
Dude, I got to tell you, even for somebody who loves summer, it's getting a little ridiculous out there.
Dude, I know. So, like, I got like 10 bags of ice and I was going to make an ice bath because, you know, like the healing properties and all that stuff and just to beat the heat. But when I went to go make the ice bath outside, all the bags of ice melted.
Andrew, why didn't you just like turn on your AC?
Because I'm trying to be energy efficient, Tyler.
All right, listen, instead of trying to go through your new skincare routine, all you have to do is check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got all of the deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bill.
Wait. So no more ice?
No, unless you're trying to do a polar plunge, you're good.
Now that's what's up.
Just head on over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. Before we get to our mystery trade player of the day, some news that has come out over the last half an hour or so, basically since we started the show, from Jesse Rogers of ESPN. I really like this idea. This is a great idea to implement this in an exhibition game. Major League Baseball is going to use the automatic balls and strikes challenge system in the All-Star game next week. I don't know how you feel about that, Andrew. I love that idea.
I love it.
This thing needs to be it needs to be implemented immediately. But if you're going to like test the waters a little bit, the All-Star game's the perfect place to do it.
I think it's the perfect platform to try it out, to let people see it on the professional level. Because I think it's something that really needs to be implemented like next season, big time, because there have been so many missed calls, especially this season.
Yeah, so we go back to the game on Monday, the game where the Phillies lose, but I think the bigger story for a lot of Phillies fans was Phil Cuzzi.
Yes.
Cuzzi was terrible.
Horrible.
Now, it's a computer-generated system, but if you believe in umpire scorecard, I do. Umpire scorecard determined that the Giants got 1.42 runs of help because of Phil Cuzzi's calls. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but he was 91% for the day, missed 16 calls, two of which, and they give you the three most egregious calls, two of the three most egregious calls were in the at-bat where Orion Kerkering had to strike out Matt Chapman like 6 times and then ended up giving up the runs because of it.
Crazy.
I love it. I think that this is a great idea. I am 100% in on this being implemented. I would implement it next year. I've long said I think it's going to be implemented after the 2026 season because that's when the collective bargaining agreement will get reworked. And I think it'll probably be available in 2027. Edward Chamberlain brings up an interesting point. Andrew, if you can flash up Edward's comment on the screen. Edward says, other teams don't move their top prospects in recent years to get good players. Why should the Phillies cave in and do it? It's an interesting question there, Edward, and you are correct. Last year was the first year in what felt like forever that not a single top 100 prospect got moved. Is that correct? Is that real? Seems crazy, right? But top prospects last year got moved, but not the top like 2 or 3 for anybody's particular farm system. Like, I'm going to go find you the exact number, but I do believe that to be the case where that was a thing that got discussed was like top prospects just didn't get moved last year. And top prospects have been moved in years past, but it was kind of intriguing that like very few top prospects got unloaded in last year's trade deadline, yet a lot of players got moved. I think the Phillies are I don't disagree with you. Why should they cave? But if they're looking to acquire big time assets, I do think they're going to have to move some big-time prospects. The Phillies have 5, I believe, in the top 100 now. I believe off the top of my head, it is Painter, Crawford, Miller, Taiit, and Aaron Escobar are the 5. I think there is a less than zero chance, or a more than zero chance, excuse me, that one of those 5 players do get traded this deadline. I think there is a basically zero chance that it's Andrew Painter. But I think one of the other 4 there's plausibility to one of those guys getting moved. I would say if I were to be a betting man and to say who I think it might be, I think it would probably be Aaron Escobar, who has shot up rankings over the last couple of months. But I think the Phillies love Taiit. I do think they still love Miller. I think that they're going to do whatever they can to hold on to Justin Crawford, who I think should have been a major leaguer already, quite frankly. But I think that if one of those 5 get moved, this is just me like spouting off, pontificating, if you will. I think if any of those were to get moved, I think it would be Aaron Escobar. Now, Andrew, can you do me a favor? Can you fact check me on that top prospect thing from last year?
Yes.
Was it the top 100 prospects? I forget exactly what it was. If you can fact check me on it, I would really appreciate it. And also, I'm going to apologize to you for this because we're going to kind of do multiple things at once. It is officially time to get to our mystery trade player of the day. If you're new here or haven't been a part of the mystery trade segment before, we have identified one player, whether it be a position player or a pitcher, and we just give you their numbers. We give you their Baseball Savant page. We tell you about their contracts, and then you fall me into, yes, 4 top 100 prospects got moved?
Oh, no. Sorry, I was looking at Phillies.
Yes. Oh, the Phillies have 4. So
They have
Aaron
4.
Escobar is not in the top 100.
No.
Okay.
It's Painter, Miller, Crawford,
and Taiit.
Taiit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you could check for me, just to double check, was it top 100? How many, if none got moved last year? Because I do think that was the case at the trade deadline. Anyway, we are kind of moving along. We do this once per show on near the trade deadline. And we give you a player, whether it be a position player, a pitcher, whatever the case may be, and I give you their numbers. I give you a silhouette. I don't tell you who it is or what team they're with, but we give you the facts about the player, and you decide. You can put them in one of 3 buckets: very interested, kind of interested, and not interested. And today, since last week we did a pitcher, on Monday we did a pitcher, we're going to do a position player today. Now, this is a player who I think is going to, at some point, find themselves in a numbers game for their own team. And it's a team that has started to call up some of its young players and also finds itself in kind of a precarious situation where I don't know exactly how much they're going to be sellers or if they're even going to be sellers at all. I do tend to believe that they will be, but they find themselves in a precarious situation where there's a numbers game, and one of the guys in the numbers game, who is probably the worst defensive player of the group, is the guy that's making the most money. Now, let's show the numbers for the player that we're looking at. This guy is having himself a really nice season. 261, 329, 502. OPS is above 800, which is something the Phillies don't have a lot of claim to. Having himself a fine season. 257 at-bats this year so far, mostly against right-handed pitching. And so I will say, Andrew, to go back to the conversation that we had earlier in the show, this is a left-handed hitter. So I don't know if that deters anybody. If you watched Philly with John Marks with me and Jamie today, don't give away who this is because we did talk about this player on the show. 17 home runs is already a career high for this guy. 50 RBI is closing in on a career high, and he already has 28 extra base hits. Now, last year he had 33 doubles. This year, just 11 so far. And the big reason as to why I think this player is going to be coveted is that he has a year of pre-arb and 3 arbitration years remaining and doesn't become an unrestricted free agent until 2030. And then the question becomes, well, Tyler, why would this team move a player of this caliber, who's team controlled, the contract is incredibly team friendly. Well, again, it brings it back to the fact that they're in a little bit of a numbers logjam. I think this team is going to move one of their outfielders in at the deadline. Now, it could be this guy. I think it's more likely the other name that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But they've already called up 2 prospects who have been or a prospect, who's getting a bulk of the time. They also have a guy who's already cemented in the outfield. They also, again, as I said, have a high-paid player who really is more of a DH, but making a lot of money. So they really find themselves with 5 guys and 4 spots. So the question is, who's going to be the odd man out? Now, to me, the odd man out should be the guy who's making a lot of money. But we know how business works. Teams don't want to find themselves in monetary sunk costs, and that's going to play a factor into it. I also think that this guy that I'm talking about will return a larger haul, but also is team controlled and is the better defender of the two, was a Gold Glove winner last year, and I think that means something to the team. Now, I will say this, somebody who covers the team, and I know I'm being very shady with the description, but somebody who covers the team in the city reported that their team is not actively looking to move this player or another player, but they are listening to offers. And I don't think they should entertain offers unless they are going to get a legitimate, controllable starting pitcher plus, because this team is in need of starting pitching. Now, you saw the Baseball Savant page. There's some good, there's some bad. The expected numbers are really, really good. He barrels the ball pretty well. Whiff rates are okay. Strikeout rates are just below league average. This is a really good defender, a 92 percentile range, a cannon for an arm, and as I said, won a Gold Glove last year in the outfield. Now, when it comes to his home runs, he is an almost entirely pull hitter. 2 of his home runs went to right center field, but 15 of them were pull home runs. Most of his hard contact goes to right field. Now, before I tell you who this is, there have been some guesses in the chat. I think some of you are on to the particular player, but I don't think it's been guessed just yet. Andrew, I want to ask you before we get to our guesses in the chat, where does this guy fall for you? Very interested, kind of interested, not interested?
I'm interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in him. I know the whole thing is the drawback is going to be the lefty,
He's a lefty,
all that stuff. But yet again, if he's able to produce for you, I think that's the priority right now, is finding somebody who can help you score runs, get guys on bases, and if this guy were to be able to do that, then I would be in.
So this is where the conversation comes in. Does this team want a major league ready starting pitcher? And I think this team could desperately be in use of starting pitching. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means they're looking for a top prospect or they're looking for a major league ready player. But I think this is a prime team to use Mick Abel in a trade package, because this team needs starting pitching, and Mick Abel could be in their rotation now if they wanted him to be. And, next year, if they felt more obliged. This guy was guessed. Do you so you're in, I'm in on this guy. I don't think Boston is super excited. I just gave it away. I don't think Boston's super excited about moving this guy. It was guessed in the chat. Peel and Onions got it. This is Wilyer Abreu from the Boston Red Sox, who's having himself a really fine year. The reason I say I don't think Boston's super looking into moving this guy, I think Boston's going to have to make a trade, because they need pitching and they need to get rid of their logjam, because Cedane Rafaela isn't going anywhere. He's played really well. Roman Anthony has come up. I think he's going to get a lot of time in left field and split some time as the DH. Masataka Yoshida is their DH who's coming off the IL. He's a good hitter, but he stinks in the outfield. He's a DH exactly. So they have 5 guys for 4 spots, and I'm not necessarily sure that they're not going to make a move. Now, if I were the Boston Red Sox, I think the guy that I would look to move is Jarren Duran. Because of Abreu's got the team control. He's a great defender. His pop is getting better and better and better. He's only 26 to Duran's 30. They're not going to move Anthony. There's no chance that's happening. He's like their future. Zidane Rafaela has been awesome for them. I don't think he's moving either. So I think it comes down to, do they want to move Abreu or do they want to move Duran? And I think Duran is probably the more likely guy that they want to move. If I were looking to acquire a Red Sox outfielder, I would be under the impression that I would want Wilyer Abreu. So I don't necessarily think that this guy gets moved. I think the likelier scenario is that it is Duran that gets moved. But I think the Red Sox are going to need to move somebody. And I think not only are they going to need to move somebody, they're going to want starting pitching back. No question about it. All right. Anyway, let's pause for just a moment. We're running up against it. We're almost at the end of the show. I apologize to our sponsors here, but we do have to pause one more time, and we will get back to you on the other side. I'll check in some of the chat. We'll talk about this Abreu move, or hypothetical. This is all hypothetical barroom conversation, but we'll do that on the other side right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. All right, let me tell you about my casino of choice, Parx Casino, and the Parx Online Casino app. You can check out all of the brand new casino games, Huff and More Puff, Fireblaze, Sky Queen. There are a ton of Parx exclusives, all of the casino games that you could play at the Street Road location of Parx Casino. You can do it right from your phone. If you don't want to get up and go, you can just download the app and do it right from your phone. You can play table games, slots, baccarat, craps, online poker, blackjack. You can do it all right from the palm of your hand. And of course, as I said, the online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, Cleopatra, and so much more. But not only that, but they have slots based on some of your favorite streaming shows, whether it's Squid Game, Peaky Blinders, The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad. They've got all of the TV shows, plus TV classics for you right in the palm of your hand. And new users get up to $1,000 in casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. So go to betparx.com, download the app right now, and enjoy all of the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. Must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan. For BetParx, you love to play, you play to win, you bet. BetParx. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, looking to pop the question, you want to head on over to Golden Nugget because for over 30 years, Golden Nugget and Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. And that's why customers from across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even Baltimore and New York City come on down to 8th and Chestnut to check out Golden Nugget Jewelers because they offer an incredible selection of engagement rings, wedding bands, jewelry, watches, necklaces, you name it. So whether you're thinking about popping the question to your special someone, or you need to get in on your wedding bands, it's that time to start thinking about your bands, or you want to upgrade. You want to go from a nice wedding band to a really nice wedding band. You can do that, of course, with our friends over at Golden Nugget Jewelry. But it's not just about weddings. They have a vast selection of high-end watches, fashion jewelry, sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and so much more. You'll receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase that you make. Golden Nugget Jewelers has been family-owned and operated since 1987, right on Chestnut and 8th in the heart of downtown Philly. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. And before we go any further, I want to say thank you to all of our friends watching us on our streaming platforms, whether it be Roku, Samsung, any of our streaming platforms. Head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show. We are officially in overtime.
Or extra innings.
Or extra innings, depending on whenever we get that branding done.
Yeah.
I'll believe that when I see it. Anyway, let's talk. Don't have a lot of time left. Just want to kind of buzz through some of the comments in the chat about that player that we were just talking about. Ray Schumacher said Jaron Duran, which was a good guess. Right team. Peel and Onions did get it correct. And Peel and Onions ads offer a lot for Roman Anthony. Yeah, you're going to offer a king's ransom because the Red Sox aren't moving off of Roman Anthony. Almost no chance of that happen. AC Phillip brings up the true barroom conversation and says, no shot it happens, but offer up the farm for Acuna. Listen, I don't think the Braves are moving off of Ronald Acuna. I know there's been sometimes people just have to fill quotas and write articles and things like that. And it's like 6 crazy trades that could happen. And it's like, will the Braves move Ronald Acuna? Listen, I know the Braves are faltering. That would be utterly stupid, in my opinion.
And they wouldn't ever trade with us in Philadelphia.
It's one of those situations where if you're going to trade with a division rival, you almost ask for like a 10% kicker.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the trade kicker in the NBA. When you get moved, you get more money. Like if you're going to trade to the AL versus trading to the division, it's like, all right, here's what the AL offered. You need to offer that plus 10%.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know it's like barroom fodder. I think the Braves will sell, but not their structured pieces. I don't think they're going to move Riley or Acuna or Albies. The interesting one, because of the injury and the relative age, is Chris Sale. I don't know what they're going to do with Chris Sale. I still would kind of be shocked if they move him, because I do think the Braves feel like they can reload next year and just like shake off the nastiness, the grossness of this season and be competitive. And I don't think they're that far off from that being the truth.
Would they move Olsen?
I don't think so. Let me see what Olsen's contract looks like. I really don't think they're going to move a lot of guys at the deadline. Like the guys that they're going to move are guys towards the end of their contract. Olsen is owed $22 million for each of the next 4 seasons before a club option in 2030.
Oh my.
So he's going to be 36 when that contract extends. I think of the positional players, if you were to ask, like just me, again, thinking out loud, who's the likeliest to get moved between Acuna, Albies, Riley, and Olsen? I wonder if the answer might be Olsen.
Yeah.
Because he's 31.
Yeah.
But he's still owed $88 million and has a club option for 2020 or 2030. So if you're going to pick that up in 2030, he's owed $108 million over the next 5 seasons, which is not a bad ask for a power bat of his caliber. But I don't think they're going to end up, I don't know. This is, again, just my thoughts. I just don't think they're going to end up moving anybody.
I don't think so.
Or anybody of merit, I should say.
Yeah, I don't think they're core players. I don't think they're going to move.
All right, just really quickly. AC Phyllis says, do you think Middleton will go further into the tax to trade for a bat? I mean, they're right up against it. If they're going to make a move, the likely scenario is they're probably going to have to. And I don't know if that necessarily means that they're going to move, into the next apron or the next threshold for this year and acquire an expiring contract and just eat the remainder of the money, or if that means they're willing to do it for the foreseeable future. But remember, next year, there is a little bit of flexibility heading into next year. JT Realmuto comes off the books. Kyle Schwarber comes off the books. Ranger Suarez comes off the books. Now, you do have to keep in mind, like, what are you going to pay Kyle Schwarber if you're going to pay Kyle Schwarber? But I think that maybe for the half a season, the Phillies would consider thinking about, pushing some chips in and readjusting the money in, next year. So it's a great question to ask. I don't know. I don't know what I really can't get a read on Dave Dombrowski. I've used the phrase selectively aggressive for a while now. I think that is probably the way that he's going to go about this thing. But I really don't know. Like, I would not, like, if I were to tell you be prepared for a couple of fringe pieces, that might be the way that they go about it. A bullpen piece and a platoon bat in left field. If John Middleton really just decided to say screw it, then maybe you do make the splash move. But I really don't have a feel for Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton 2.5 weeks before the deadline. And that's kind of why we've been doing this. When we do these mystery trades, we're balancing expiring deals, guys who are still on team-friendly contracts. There's a lot that goes into this, and I really don't know what their feel is just yet. We'll talk more about it, of course, over the next 20-some-odd days. Trade deadline is 22 days away. Just found out today that we will be doing a live trade deadline show right here on PHLY from 5 to 7 on Thursday, July 31st. So the hour before the trade deadline strikes and the final hour and the first hour after the trade deadline. So some instant reaction and then reaction after the trade deadline passes. So mark that on your calendars, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Thursday, July 31st. So that week will go Monday and Wednesday at 1 o'clock, Thursday, 5 to 7, and then again on Friday at 1 o'clock as well. So 4 live shows the week of the trade deadline. We'll be back with you on Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock, for our final live show of the week. Switch on over to the PHLY Eagles show, which is live now, and then PHLY Sixers as well at 3 o'clock today. Big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing and co-hosting today's show. And, of course, a big thank you to you in the chat. K-Red, Molly and Barkley's Life, Philly 007, Filthy McNasty, Ray Schumacher, AC Philla. Who did I miss earlier in the show? Kate was here. Lenny was here. Everybody that was here, if I didn't say your name individually, thank you. I appreciate you. You are all the best. I can't thank you enough. We'll be back on Friday, 1 o'clock. We'll break down the rest of this series. Tonight's game, Justin Verlander versus Jesus Luzardo. Phillies look to try to salvage the series. And then a 3-game weekend set against the Padres before the first half of the season comes to an end. So we'll talk to you on Friday, 1 o'clock, right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.